Debt is one of the biggest financial stressors in a relationship, especially when we're talking about six figures in student loans, credit cards, or both partners bringing a lot of debt into the picture. If you and your partner are feeling overwhelmed, you are not alone. I'm Meagan McGuire, a financial planner with SLP Wealth, certified student loan professional, certified financial planner, professional. And today, I'm going to walk you through how couples with debt can create a solid, stress-reducing financial plan together. It is possible. Part one, we've got to have the conversation, the money conversation. The first and the hardest step is really just talking about it. Be honest about what each of you owe, how you feel about it. One of you might feel ashamed, the other might feel solutions focused, and both responses are valid. According to Fidelity, 41% of married couples didn't talk about how to handle money before getting married. That's not surprising to me. It's not the sexiest topic. But when you're signing up to kind of link your life to somebody forever, it is important to know how you feel about money and how and what money situations we're bringing to the table that we're going to be conjoining, right? Because 65% of cohabitating couples say that they argue about money, at least some of the time. This tells me that money habits and communication are very important. And 78% of people in happy relationships say that they share very similar money habits. That comes from Ramsey Solutions. Another thing that's said from Ramsey Solutions is couples who talk about money weekly are more likely to describe their relationships as extremely happy. 94% compared to just 45% of couples who rarely discuss finances. And that makes sense. Money is in our day-to-day life. So in step one, this is what I would suggest. Share what your total debt amounts are for everything. Anything, everything. Student loans, credit cards, personal loans, car loans, mortgages, etc. Talk about monthly payments and interest rates. So it might be a good idea to list out our debt that we have with just some of the factual details, our balances, what our monthly payment is, what our interest rates are, and the terms, how much longer we have to pay them off. Discuss how each of you feel about debt. This matters just as much as the math because some folks are very debt adverse, and that's okay. That might be how they were raised. There might be reasonings for why they're very debt averse and scared of debt, honestly. And there's other folks that see it as leverage or a way to the next step, a means to an end, you know? So these understandings, these backgrounds, these feelings about money need to be discussed. Part two to this would be to get on the same page with your goals. Before you decide how to pay off the debt, what you need to ask is why? What is the bigger picture that we're working towards together? Why do we want to pay off the debt? And then we could start talking about the how. What does being debt-free mean to you? Does that mean all debt is out of the picture, including the mortgage? Does that mean just personal debt, like our student loans or our credit cards? Is that just credit card debt? You need to get on the same page with what being debt-free means to you. Also, what are our goals? Are we trying to save for a house or start a family? And how is being debt-free going to help you with that? Do you want to aggressively pay down the debt or balance it with our other goals? I like to tell folks that there's kind of two approaches you can have when it comes to paying off debt with other goals that we have in the picture. You can take a strainer approach. So imagine you pouring a pitcher of water into a strainer and we've got, water coming out of the different streams. Think about that as you have money that's coming in. So that's our water that's pouring into the funnel. And the different streams are the different goals that we have. So maybe our goal is to pay off this credit card, pay off our auto loan faster, pay off our student loans faster, but we also want to save for a house or save for a wedding. We could have specific goals for how much we're putting towards each one of those tasks. And the strainer approach accomplishes all of those things kind of slowly over time. The funnel approach is different. That's where we take that water jug, we're pouring water into the funnel, and we are crushing one goal specifically. So that might be putting all extra money towards one goal specifically to start. Once that goal is done, we move on to the next goal. So really singular focus, really drilling into that one goal, and then we move on to the next, kind of like a snowball or an avalanche approach. So that might be a great topic to chat about as far as how aggressively we're going to go to pay down debt and how we're going to balance it with the other goals that we have in the picture. Part 3 is choosing the right debt strategy. This is where having a planner can help, especially when student loans are involved. There's no one size fits all. Truly, there is not. There's no one size fits all. When someone asks what's the best way to pay down my debt, it is a collection of different ways we can go about it. We need to find the best way for that couple, that person. Sometimes the right strategy is not the aggressive payback plan, especially if we're looking at student loans and loan forgiveness could be on the table. So some examples of some strategies. Let's say we have one partner going towards PSLF and the other partner has private student loans. Their student loan strategy is going to look totally different because our PSLF partner is going to be getting on an income-driven repayment plan, paying only what's required, as little as possible towards those loans to maximize how they can get loan forgiveness. The person with private student loans not going towards PSLF, they'd probably want to be paying those off more aggressively, refinancing them to get a lower interest rate and paying those off sooner rather than later. So same debt type, right? Student loans, but totally different plan. Another example scenario comes to how couples split finances. You may split finances temporarily to independently tackle your independent debt. Others may combine everything and work towards the debt together collaboratively. Both can work. It comes down to the couple. And last little note when we're talking about student loans is we want to make sure we're coordinating our tax filing status with our partner, because if we are going towards loan forgiveness with our student loans, there could be a reason to consider filing taxes married separately versus filing jointly. This can majorly affect your IDR payments. So even if it's just you that has the student loans in the picture, you may need to be looking at this collaboratively because the tax filing status does impact the student loan situation. Part 4, budgeting as a team. You need a system that's going to work for you both. That might mean a joint budget, or it could mean a yours, mine budget, or just simply weekly check-ins if we're budgeting independently. Track your joint expenses and individual spending habits. You can do this with a number of different apps, free or maybe a small minimal fee. We really like Monarch Money. That's what we use with our clients. But there's also YNAB, You Need a Budget. That's a good app to consider. There's probably some other free apps as well out there to track spending. This is a great way to know, though, what's coming into the household income-wise and what's going out spending-wise. This can help you prioritize what minimum payments we need to be making and then building on those minimum payments to pay extra to start working that debt down if that's part of your strategy. When we're talking about budgeting, yes, it's important to definitely tackle the debt that we have in the mix, but also budget for joy. We don't want to take away every ounce of fun if we're, working towards the goal of paying down debt. We also need to treat yourself reasonably, so we're motivated to continue with our debt paydown journey. All right, in part 5, let's take things back a little bit, take a couple steps back for a second. Once we've kind of gotten our idea of what our goals are, what our situation is, we've taken a look at what our debt situation is, we've come up with maybe a debt paydown strategy, we are budgeting and tracking expenses as a team. We want to also take a step back and remember to build a safety net first. This is something that's hard to do, especially before you're starting to pay off debt, because you want to make sure, you're using every dollar efficiently, and it can feel like a couple steps back to be throwing money into savings. It can be helpful to have a little bit of money set aside in savings for the unexpected. If you're throwing everything at loans with no savings, one unexpected expense can really throw you way off track. So emergency fund, my rule of thumb is typically 3 to 6 months of necessary living expenses, but get somewhere closer to 3 months if possible before you start crushing the debt. That's ideal if you want to go for 1 month just to have that as a safety net and then really crush the debt from there. That's up to your risk tolerance, but 1 to 3 months, definitely shoot for that as we're working towards the debt payoff goal. Some other things to keep in mind that can kind of help protect us before we're going on this debt paydown journey is some of the foundational things that are part of a financial plan, like having life and disability insurance in place, especially if you're married and you have children or dependents or people who depend on the money that you're bringing in. to pay down that debt or to pay the bills that we have in the mix. So make sure we've got proper insurance in place and also your basic estate documents, a will, a power of attorney. Make sure your beneficiaries on your assets are updated. So these are, hopefully things that don't matter because we're not going to die soon and we're not going to get disabled soon. Hopefully this is a moot point, but it can be catastrophic if these things are not taken care of and can really put your family in a bad position. So make sure to prioritize taking a look at those things. And lastly, part 6 is knowing when to ask for help. Planning with debt can certainly feel overwhelming, especially with multiple loan types, tax questions, conflicting goals, and just managing money with a partner, right? A financial planner can help you sort through the noise and be kind of a sounding board, or it can help really find a strategy or strategies that work for you both, not just one or the other. And for your real life, it can find strategies that work for you both and that fit actually in your real life. So if you're working on navigating your high debt situation and trying to get your finances on the right track as a couple, we would love to support you. So check out SLP Wealth. We do comprehensive financial planning. There's a link below where you can learn more about us and sign up to be a client of ours. And I'll end things with this. You don't need to be debt-free to be or feel financially confident. You just need a plan that's going to work for you and your partner. If this video helped you at all, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Drop a comment below with what you're going to be tackling this year and tell us your story. We'd love to hear about it. Thanks, and I'll catch you on the next one.